Hey, you there. Are you looking to experience the kind of popularity that comes with being the cat's pajamas? Well, forget about the jelly roll, the pink poof, or wearing your knickerbockers rebuckled below the knee. Because this year all the kids are going wild about lampshading. Yes, simply don a lampshade, cock it to a rakish angle, and you are ready to become the toast of the social season. Lampshading. It's the intellectual look that says, I have a bright idea.
Greetings, good storytellers. I am the Artful Narrator, and it is my privilege to welcome you to learning the tropes of writing. Now, aside from a questionable fashion choice, lampshading does not just add an elegantly efficient piece of decor to a room. It also functions as a literary expression. For to lampshade, or hang a lantern on something, is to intentionally cause your story's characters to draw attention to some aspect of your story's plot that is either mildly cliché, entertainingly preposterous, or simply very convenient, which can have the effect of making your story look smart and self-aware by enabling the audience to be in on the joke, and creating a scenario where the sentiments of the characters in your story echo the thoughts of the genre-savvy members of the audience.
What? The janitor is the evil samurai president? That's bananas!
Oh, come on, it was so obvious. He's been mopping in the background of every fight scene. Look, here he is on the cover of the box.
For example, if your narrative is an adaptation of old comic books, the audience may notice that, unsurprisingly, many of the names of your story's characters sound like the stuff of fiction. Because, well, they are. But don't try to rationalize it. Simply lampshade it.
It's registered to a perp who has multiple breaking and entering priors. Silbert Rundine.
Why does every villain in this city have a name that sounds like it came out of a comic book?
Or let's say that your main character has the physics-defying ability to dive and swim in a giant money bin full of gold coins. The audience might be assuming that this is just a case of cartoon logic. But with lampshading, you can let them know that, no, in fact, this act makes no sense in the world of the story, and is thus all the more impressive because of it. Perhaps you have written many episodes where a lady mystery writer corners a murderer and tricks him into revealing his guilt, after which the constabulary is fortuitously on hand to arrest the guilty party. Rather than feigning to be oblivious of this repeatedly used plot convenience, add a delightful touch of lampshading to prove to your audience that your show is self-aware enough to acknowledge and chuckle at its own recurring themes.
The detective in the wings, Mrs. Fletcher? I suppose I should have expected a climax so cliché.
Of course, sometimes in writing, we as authors can become, understandably, creatively taxed by the extensive nature of weaving together intricate plots. And in such instances, we may be tempted to take refuge in the hope that our audience will be either very forgiving or, shall we say, unobservant enough to miss certain areas in our narrative where we were unable to weed out all the plot holes, contrivances, and questionable logic.
No, I think we shouldn't have to do this! It makes no logical sense! Why is it here?
Because it's on the television
Well,
show!
forget it! I'm not doing it! This episode was badly written!
But rather than guiltily hoping that this shortcoming goes unnoticed, lampshading can be used to try to excuse a narrative problem by winking to the audience and congratulating them on their powers of observation, thereby turning an event that could have strained their willing suspension of disbelief into a self-aware laugh. For example, if your plot calls for your main character to visit a certain school for gifted youngsters to enlist the help of a colossal Russian and a teenage warhead, only for the school to seem strangely unpopulated, lacking the cameos and background characters that one might expect. In this case, you could enhance your lampshading with a fourth wall break to briskly remedy this mystery.
I'm gonna wait out here, okay? It's a big house. It's funny that I only ever see two of you. It's almost like the studio couldn't afford another X-Man.
Now, while such uses of lampshading can range from gloriously memorable to passably acceptable, it is important to get the tone right and to make sure that the flaw that you are making light of is not something too egregious, because otherwise it can transform this joke into an admission of guilt, making it clear to the audience that yes, you knew all about the problem, and rather than fix it, you chose to try to laugh it off. But the distinction between acceptable stretching of plausibility and a deal-breaking bit of over-contrivance varies greatly based on the pre-established rules of the narrative and also on the personal sensibilities of what each viewer considers too nonsensical or convenient.
Beamed out.
Sure, why not?
Is that not too convenient?
Not if you hang a lantern on it.
What's that?
It's a writer's term. Another character points out how convenient it is. Dr. Levant can say, "Wow, that was great timing." That way, the audience knows I intended for it to be convenient, and we move on.
In this age where we are extravagantly spoiled for choice from excellent stories in movies, TV shows, books, and even games, it is a welcome treat to see stories that do not appear to be built on the absurd hope that we have never seen a narrative with similar tropes before, but rather stories that expect us to be genre savvy and reward our investment with self-aware storytelling devices like lampshading and fourth wall breaks. And recognizing that vast wealth of stories, it is beautiful to be able to share with your audience a mutual love for harmlessly silly cliches and improbable events. Because it is nearly impossible to tell a story without utilizing a myriad of tropes and minor cliches. So why not have a little fun by hanging a few tactful lampshades here and there? But in the end, should you choose to enhance your story with lampshading, balance clever writing and innovative plots with innocent moments of convenience and skillful humor, so that your character's genre savviness will leave little room for doubt that your narrative is full of bright ideas. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that this video has been informative, or at the very least, a pleasant diversion. Until next time.